Hello guys, so you should be looking at cellular homeostasis. You might want to pull up these slides on your own as I go over them to help you with your first assignment. So we're starting talking about biomolecules this unit, and biomolecules are molecules that are completely essential to life in one way or another. You either need to consume them or you need them to build your structures, and almost all of them are needed to build different structures that allow you to live. So there are four kinds of biomolecules: carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. You've probably heard of those. If you haven't, then maybe just in this context, but carbohydrates, lipids, proteins for sure. I know you've heard nucleic acids. You might not think you've heard of those, but you have at this point. Each biomolecule is made up of small building blocks in the form of monomers. Mono means one. So one monomer is one piece of a carbohydrate. One monomer of a lipid is a piece of a lipid that builds up to make these giant structures that create living things. So I'll go through each of them. First, we have lipids. Lipids are fats. And in the things that you consume, when you consume fats, that stuff gets stored to be used later. So it helps perform protective layers for the body and the cells and retain body heat. Okay, protective layers for the body, retaining body heat, those make sense. As far as cells go, remember in Unit 1, we learned that cells have a cell membrane. That cell membrane is mostly made up of lipids. It's a fatty structure that surrounds the cell completely. The monomer is a fatty acid, and you can see a fatty acid example kind of over here. Not so much this top part of this structure, but the bottom legs. So this is a phospholipid. It has a phosphate head and little lipid tails. These fatty acids here are the building blocks of lipids. So they make up the main parts of the cell membrane known as phospholipids, and that's what these are. This is the general structure of the cell membrane, and that fatty section in the middle made up of those tails, those fatty acid tails, that's what makes the flexibility of the cell membrane happen. And you can see kind of body fat percentages. So you need body fat because it helps you, protect your body, insulate your body. You also need it for your cells, and it also helps to keep you warm. So some body fat is important in most people. Women should have more body fat than men to be healthy. So lipids, fats, they're the same thing. You got waxes, oils, those kinds of things. Any foods you can think of that are waxy or oily, then those are lipids, fats. Carbohydrates. So you hear a lot of information, a lot of talk about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates give you quick energy whenever you need to eat because you're not feeling well, you're feeling weak. You probably want to grab something that has carbs in it, something that has sugar. That's what carbs are, is sugar, because it's going to provide quick energy for your body. So the monomer is a monosaccharide, and saccharide or saccharin means sweet. Monosaccharide, it's just one sugar. Your body needs sugars. Believe it or not, bread is made up entirely of sugar. Anything that's a carbohydrate can range from actual sugar cane, like grains of sugar, to really, really dense breads or dense pastas. The only difference is if you're looking at grains of sugar, granules of sugar, then those are really simple sugars. And when you get to pastas and breads, those are very complex sugars. So you have good versus bad carbs, right? The good carbs, non-starchy. Starchy means it's hard to break down. So vegetables, starchy and non-starchy, fruits, greens in general. I know that's kind of redundant, but bad carbs would be soda because it's just pure sugar, white pasta, white rice, sugary cereal, and white pasta and white rice because they've been refined, so you strip a lot of the nutrients. So it's pretty much just a bunch of sugar and not a bunch of other stuff. That's why people who have diabetes are supposed to watch how much bread they eat and how much pasta they eat along with the sugar, because when your body breaks down breads and pastas, it turns it into sugar, just like if you drank a soda. And carbohydrates participate in cell recognition. So two big things: communication between cells and providing energy to living things. Proteins, you hear a lot about proteins. Proteins are the product of cells. They must be built by cells. DNA, all it really does is encode information about proteins, and those proteins do all of the things that you think of living things doing. They help build muscle, they give eye color, freckles, basically any defining characteristic. The monomer is an amino acid. So amino acids, there are about 20 different amino acids that make up all proteins and all living things. And we'll get to those when we get to genetics. We'll actually look at what are the names of each of those amino acids. Along with this, proteins help in transport of material in and out of cell like a gateway. So they're like bridges or gates that go in and out of the cell membrane, where things that are too large to just pass in between the layers, they have to go through these channels and these passages. And those passages are made of proteins. Nucleic acids. Okay, this is the one you think you haven't heard of, but you absolutely have. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Nucleic acids are genetic material. We have both DNA and RNA. In humans, the genetic material is kept in DNA, but RNA helps to express the traits that are kept in DNA. So both are vital. Both are Na nucleic acids. An easy way to remember this is to look at the Na every time. It's nucleic acids. It'll help you know the names of these a little better also. The monomer is a nucleotide. And that one's fairly simple because nucleotide sounds a lot like nucleic acid. So it should be fairly simple. The rest of these monomers are not necessarily as simple. So going back through them, lipids, the monomer is a fatty acid. Carbohydrates, the monomer is a monosaccharide. Proteins, the monomer is an amino acid. And nucleic acids, the monomer is a nucleotide. You should be able to use that information to help you complete the assignment. And you can review this video at any time if you would like to.